Welcome to Security with Spirits. I'm your host, Jason, and I'm joined at the bar by
Ben,
Jonathan,
and Tony. We'll tell you what to drink while we tell you about why we drink.
All right, everybody, welcome to the podcast. So we'll go ahead and take it around the room. Jonathan, what you drinking?
tonight I've got a brand new bottle of S.E. Callahan's pear-flavored whiskey. The idea is meant to be able to just pour it over the rocks and have the smooth, sweet taste of an old-fashioned.
Nice.
Are there any correct pairings? That joke went over like a Led Zeppelin.
Wow.
I was trying to think of something. I just got tickled.
I was going to ask if you were only drinking one glass or two or...
One for each hand, so there's a pair.
Perfect.
What a...
All right, Ben, what you got?
Well, I've got Dalwhinnie, and I've got it a little bit hydrated. I think this might become my new way to drink this. It's just with a little bit of water in it. It's really opened my eyes on my usual scotches.
Nice. So it's a little warm down here, and unseasonably warm down here in southern Florida. So to beat the heat, one of our favorites is a foghorn. So it's gin, ginger beer, and a little bit of lime. Refreshing, delicious.
All right, this episode's signature cocktail is the Oak Barrel Cold Call. It's whiskey, orange liqueur, and a heavy pour of cold brew coffee. Keep this in your mug to deal with a day full of vendor calls. John, last episode you mentioned that Jameson Orange. This is where you use that. This would be perfect for that. Find the recipe and more at oakbarrelsecurity.com.
Now with security, because it's got the certificate is fixed. So last episode, we went over the intro call and how painful those are. In some ways we can correct it. Now we've decided that we're going to move forward on some sort of product selection. So we need to figure out if this product is a fit for our needs. And then we're going to venture into the POC.
So on that first call that you actually have, we talked about we need numbers. We need to understand if we can even afford your product. Well, that second call, we need to make sure we're talking to someone who can tell us how your product will address our problem.
Great. So my first red flag is they aren't willing to POC. Get run around.
Yes.
Absolutely. POC is vital, and I need to make sure that when I'm talking to them and explaining to them the issue I want to solve, that one, I don't have to give them every nitty-gritty detail of my environment, and there should be someone on the call who understands what I'm talking about. The customers look for their product for. They need to understand the technical aspect of that and how it addresses those problems specifically.
I usually get turned off when you ask them a little bit of a technical question and it gets turned around into, yes, we do that. And you know that they're lying. You know that they're not sure, but they're scared to death to say no.
Are they trying to say, this Fortune 500 company came to us with the same issue and they said our solution solved it brilliantly, without giving actual reasons or how it solved it. It's buzzword, promotion, buy our stuff.
I think a really big tell on that is somebody who says, whenever you say, this is the problem we're having, and they instantly say, yes, our product can fix it. I want to hear a question back to me to dive into that problem a little bit deeper and just to make sure that we're on the same page before we actually think that we can solve the problem. That's what I want to say.
Yes, and to confirm that they heard what we said.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Then sometimes that turns into them just trying to funnel us with information. Oh, well, we've got this blog post and this white paper here. I'll get you copies of it, when it's not focused on what we're talking about.
Our core product doesn't quite handle that, but if you add on this other thing, that'll get you to where you need to be.
Yes.
So bad. That's infuriating, especially whenever you settled in that initial call. You've already got that magic number in your head that you're like, this is all it's going to cost us, and now it's, well, to do that you're going to need this much.
And I don't mean to disparage a site or a product that has good documentation publicly available.
That's usually been something I've ran into. Whatever they're documenting is in a different environment set up altogether than whatever I'm building in or trying to plan in. It's like, oh, we only do this part in cloud, but it's like, well, you told me I didn't need to build this in the cloud, and I'm not planning to. Well, we don't have documentation for that. Or they just point you back to the same site. It's relatively the same way. It's like, no, it's different.
I don't mind to read. I don't mind if you get a website that's well laid out and it's got the information on it. I'm happy to go read and try to figure out if it fits our needs. Don't hide documentation behind a sales wall. I don't want to have to talk to a salesperson to get this magic hidden document that you have that has all the sizing needs and all that kind of stuff before we make a selection. That should all be freely available on the website.
Nor do I want to have to create an account on your website to access that.
No, at this point, you should be talking to a legit sales engineer that can speak in technical terms and help you design a solution based on the information you've already given them. You've got your foot in the door. You don't need any more marketing. It's time to design.
Yes.
And be absolutely ready to offer either a demo server or a proof of concept environment or something that we can start working with. Sales should realize how much more successful their sale is when they let the people actually get it implemented and they're honest about how it solves their problem. Once they get it in that solution in there and they start using it and they start seeing the results, that's like a guarantee that they're going to buy it, provided they don't do the old switcheroo and come in with a extra 1 and 2 zeros behind their price.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with cloud solutions, right? You should have that spun up, ready to give to me pretty much by this point. Let me play with it.
Yeah. That is way more valuable than any beer koozie you could send me or any sales trinket. Save your money, keep all that, put a little bit extra in a cloud solution or some sort of demo that you can have available where I can actually get in and see if this product will work for me.
But I'll still take the Yeti tumbler.
I was about to say, please send me stuff though.
Has anybody ever been influenced by a piece of merch?
No.
Does that work at all?
No.
I wonder that myself. I wonder if there's somebody out there who is really sitting there frantically thinking they're like, well, this product doesn't really work for us, but they did send me a USB drive. I mean,
I wonder, yeah, that's an interesting thing, because if a company comes in, they give you, free shirts that are nice, and they pepper you with a Yeti mug or something like that, and mess with your psychology and get you somewhat beholden to them for that,
maybe more vulnerable.
Yeah, right. They sent me $100 worth of stuff. Now I guess I should buy their $1 million product.
So a story that happened to me is, and I forgot what it was. It was something insignificant. I don't care. It's usually what I do with the little trinkets and things that are just sent to me just randomly. Just set them out in the desk in the IT room. Be like, you can have them, whatever. Just anybody. Have fun, enjoy. But we were actually, let's see, what was it? This was quite a few years ago, and we were going through a couple vendors, and it came down to the 3 vendor selection. 2 vendors, of course, were told no thank you, and we made our selection. We're good to go. One of the other vendors actually contacted me, and they're like, did you not like and I forgot what the trinket was, but I'm just gonna make up something. They're like, did you not like the sweater we sent you? Yeah. So? And they really thought that was their bargaining chip. Is doesn't it keep you warm in winter? Sure.
It's because there are some times where you talk to a vendor and maybe you are perhaps a signature away from your superiors from actually buying their product, and you're like, hey, why don't you get my team a pair of socks, something goofy or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, I'll totally get you that stuff. And it never arrives. You ask about it again. They're like, oh, yeah, I'll talk to them. There should be, especially if you've actually committed to buying the product, should be some swag involved, I think.
You know what?
Well, I mean, before COVID, vendors were always coming trying to, like, maybe not cold call you, but they would show up and like, well, let's take your team to lunch. And they might show up with some of those trinkets, be it a hat or a sweater. That's just hilarious if that was ever true. But yeah, but I see if, you know, I actually like the idea if a company wanted to give me a Yeti tumbler over taking me to lunch, and then that way maybe down the road, you know, it's like, oh, we're trying to evaluate a new product or a new vendor for this situation we're in. Oh yeah, I remember this company. They do that. Do we want to talk to them? That's how I kind of see those trinkets.
Good point.
But on the flip side, there have been a couple of companies that over the course of my IT career have sent me so much stuff that I wonder if they're not putting more money into marketing than their actual product.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
I'm not naming names, but
Buffering
is pretty spendy.
So here's a thought that, and I will name drop on this one. So we try to keep it vendor, we keep it vendor neutral. We don't want to alienate anybody or anything like that. But there is one that I'll talk about that really stands out. So years and years ago, VMware gave away their product for free. You could have, and I think it's still true to this day, you can have an ESX server in your home lab absolutely free. And it was amazing because we're all home labbers. We're all geeks. We all have this stuff. You put that in home, and of course you're going to go into work and be like, I want that because I know that. So,
good point.
And that was one of their big things that really set VMware sales skyrocketing is people were, they were giving that away, and it got the actual true geeks in the community fired up about it, and they wanted it at work. What if maybe it's not that way for all the products out there? And I'm not going to name a product or anything, but maybe maybe I don't want to have this product in my lab. But what if instead of trinkets, what if they gave out training?
Ooh.
Well, that's like the old shareware model, right? You used to be able to just get a sort of blunted copy of a software, try it out. If you liked it, you paid for the full version and it unlocked features. You saying that, it also reminds me, Adobe sort of unofficially did that. I remember, like, back in my college days, they kind of turned a blind eye to pirated software, knowing that, if college kids are using this in design classes in school, when they get to the enterprise, they're going to tell their boss to buy them the full version.
Yeah, you know what? That's why Microsoft, when you go to most colleges, you get a Office 365.
100%. It's that same model.
I think there's actually a program called Spark from Microsoft where you can get all the different OSs and stuff to play with, all the Visual Basic stuff. The whole library you get access to, what was formerly MSDN.
The first taste is free, kids.
And they're even doing something like that with Azure now. Like my grad school, to get my master's, they gave me access to Azure. Like I have an Azure instance where I can go in and I can play. Now they bill me every month, but I've never paid the bill. So I don't know if this is going to come back and bite me. I don't know if I'm, if I turn 80 years old or something like that, like you owe Microsoft millions of dollars. So
it's that book you never returned from high school to the public library.
Like they give you your own support rep and like they follow up on that. I've gotten those calls.
So yeah, it's a good way to get in and learn, especially now. Everything is AWS, everything is Azure, everything's, cloud-based. So it's awesome to see that they're kind of adapting and they're giving people who are seeking knowledge and seeking to continue their career that kind of opportunity. And I think more people should be given that opportunity.
It's what drives engagement, change, and just creativity. That's how we progress in this area altogether.
It's the best sales tool, right? Getting your hands on something and actually getting you to use it is going to sell a product better than any PowerPoint slide.
So moving on to that, the POC. So proof of concept. We got to make sure this thing works in our environment. Don't design the POC for the software. Make sure that you are, before you're even talking to these vendors, you need to have your requirements for your proof of concept environment, for what they need to, pass, fail, whatever, what they need to do to be successful in your environment. You need to have those ready to go, just like the salesman shouldn't cater to your situation of, I have this problem. They're like, oh, totally, we can fix it. Don't bend your POC to fit a certain product just because they sent you a Yeti tumbler or something like that. Have your POC ready to go before you start talking to people.
That's fair. Like, we need to do our homework as much as they need to do theirs. I agree with that.
Yeah. Half implemented POC doesn't mean anything if you buy the product and realize, oh, it doesn't do this.
Well, we would have told you that.
But I've also seen the flip side where a vendor will come in and say, all right, here are your requirements, ABC. All right, you've been through the POC. We've shown you ABC.
That's true.
You're going to buy it now, right?
That's fair. I have seen that as well. They're like, well, you pass everything, so where's the check?
And that goes into, though, if they gave you the numbers beforehand, like we suggested, and you knew that this product was in budget, and you did the POC and it passed in your evaluation and everything else, if barring another product maybe came in cheaper and did it better, a legitimate business reason not to go with that product, that's your end of the contract at that point.
I think there's one other piece that's missing that not a lot of people take into consideration, but you're entering a partnership whenever you do this. So if a POC, like they hit the money mark, they hit all the requirements in the POC, they checked all the boxes, but they're just not a fit. They're just not, like, something doesn't mesh. And it's just like bringing in somebody new to a team or something like that. You have to consider how they're going to blend in with a team, and if they're not going to fit with a team, it's just not going to work. And I've seen some companies that it's just not, it's not going to work. Like, you have to go with the other person because, be it personality or support or whatever, it just kind of like it jives a little bit better.
I could see that too.
They got to pass the vibe check.
Like,
Yep.
Perhaps a product does meet your needs, but you may realize, oh, I have less time to devote to this particular thing it needs me to do or continually do than I thought I'd had. Where you really enjoy the features, but you're not ultimately going to be able to use them all because you don't have the time to invest in that, or the team could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man, like getting overwhelmed with all the bells and whistles. That's going to be a whole new episode. Like that's a thing in its own. Like, oh, don't answer the siren's call of all these cool things that it can do. Just figure out what you got to get done now, and we can figure out the rest later.
But look at it, it's so great.
Or you hit a hiccup during the POC and you discover that, like, maybe their support's not that great. They pawn you off to a third party that's just taking tickets.
They would never do that.
Oh, Tony, you hit a good one. Oh, that's a good thing that you should do during your POC, is definitely call support, and not call support as a potential customer. Call support.
Yeah. Don't let the salesman slip you into the engineering team. No. You get the help desk number.
Oh, yes. I love that. That's absolutely one of the things that you should have on your POC checklist, is call in as a peon and let's see what happens.
When you go into those meetings, already have within your team a well-defined list of requirements, and maybe even a list of, these would be nice, but this isn't like a deal breaker.
So the nugget that we're going to leave on is make sure that you have your list of requirements, things that you need to make this problem go away in your environment. You need to have a list of nice to haves, and you also need to talk to the actual support number and not call the salespeople. The salespeople are going to go away as soon as you hand over the check. So you need to have that support, or that relationship with support going forward.
we as the customer have expectations on our end too. If we are truly interested in a product, we can't go in with half knowledge of our own systems and put in a small effort to test the product when they've offered the POC. We can't be spoon-fed the product or the setup or anything that we need to be engaged in trying to learn about their product and try to expand our knowledge base into it. Because even if we decide this product's not going to work, whether it be too expensive, too complex, or to meet the need that we have or anything like that, we need to make sure that we can speak intelligently about the product. Because maybe there'll come a time, or another time in your career, or perhaps a colleague is looking for a solution and can meet those needs. You want to be able to talk about it intelligently with them and tell them and help them out and help the community out if you've had a good sales experience. Now, I mean, if you get bad salesmen and stuff and you don't feel like promoting their product for them, I understand that. But if you have a good experience, we should promote those good experiences and let them know that this approach works.
So we're past the first date. We're past the whining and dining. We're trying to figure out if we can make this relationship work.
All right, everybody. Well, I am definitely ready for another drink, so I think that we're going to call this an episode. I appreciate everybody very much. I am Jason.
Jonathan.
This has been
And Tony.
And we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
Foghorn.
Leghorn.
All right, so... Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, nobody was talking.
Fine. Oh, no. I think you're hearing voices.
Maybe. It's the gin's getting me.
Craig, shut up!
I really want another drink.